Are you curious what I spent on groceries in a year for a family of 6? Are you looking for some ways to cut down on your own grocery budget this year? Well, let's talk about that today. Let's talk about how to do a grocery audit. Let me share some hard numbers of what I'm doing and what my plans are from 2022 going into 2023. In case you're new here, I'm Kristen of Joyfully Thriving, and I am a very frugal shopper. One of the things I share the most on here are budget grocery hauls. I know a lot of people share their grocery hauls weekly, and I love seeing all of those from different places and different family sizes. But mine, I think, are kind of unique in that I really do try to stick to a pretty tight budget for our family. We have a family of 6 in northern Indiana, and this year in 2022, this past year, I shopped with a monthly budget of $475 a month. And for our family, that included everything. That included our groceries, that included our toiletries and paper products, anything that we needed, diapers, all of those things were included in our monthly budget. So how did I come up with that number? How did I do? Well, let's talk about that. One of the things I do at the beginning of every year to figure out my budget is I do what I call a grocery audit. It's pretty simple, it's not hard to do, and it's really eye-opening, and I encourage everyone to do it. All you have to do is sit down and answer these 5 simple questions, and it really gives you a good grasp of what you have been spending and what you hope to spend, and just some different things to think about as you're going into a new year. So let's talk about the 5 things you have to answer in a grocery audit, and then I'll share my audit with you for 2022 going into 2023. So it's very simple. You start by looking at your family size. You know, how big are you? What are the ages of your kids? It's very different if you have babies or toddlers as compared to teenagers. You have to budget according to your family size and how much they eat. The second thing is to look at what you buy and what you want to buy. I include those 2 together because you need to be honest. Think about the things you regularly buy. Do you buy a lot of dairy products? Do you buy a lot of processed foods? What stores do you shop at for those things? Do you go to one store? Do you have a variety of options for you? And then what do you want to buy? We're at the beginning of the year where everyone's kind of thinking, oh, I want to buy more vegetables, or I want to do more cooking from scratch this year. So think through that honestly. Think about the things you typically buy on a regular week or month, and as you're going into the year, what do you want to buy? Is it going to stay the same, or are you changing the way you shop? For the third thing, I want you to think about how much you currently spend. Now, I do track my grocery budget every week. I just write down the total in a Keep app on my phone. It's nothing complicated. If you haven't done this, I do encourage you to do it. But grab your receipts, look through your credit card bills, start saving receipts. Try to do it for about a month or so you have an honest total of what you have. If you don't have a current year right now, that's fine. But if you start saving your receipts now, you'll be ready for an audit next year if you can save them all year. It's a really great thing to do. So look at what you currently spend. Then the fourth is to think about what you would like to spend. Now, I know we'd all love to instantly save hundreds of dollars on our budget, and that just doesn't happen. So if you want to reduce your budget, great. Start seeing how you could reduce it in little increments. But let's be honest, with inflation going the way it is, there are going to be a lot of people who need to raise their budget, or a lot of us who are just trying to keep our budget the same. It's not lowering our budget every year like we used to think we were doing, but just keeping it the same and trying to still use that same amount to buy things even though the price of everything has gone up. So think about what you would like to spend. And then the 5th and final question is, how can you lower, or like I just said, maintain your spending this year? What are some tips and tricks and things you could do? Start thinking about that, of different ways that you can do that with your grocery budget. Okay, so are you ready to hear my grocery audit for 2022? Let's go through those couple things, and let me share with you my family of how it looked this past year and going into the new year. My family is a family of 6, my husband and myself, and then we have 4 kids who are currently ages 8, 6, 4, and 2. In March, they'll all have birthdays, and then it'll be 9, 7, 5, 3. So still kids, we're not in the teenage stage yet. but they definitely eat and like to snack, but not as much as some of you with older kids, I know. I buy a wide variety of things. My grocery budget still does at this point include all our groceries, our toiletries, paper products, diapers. Hoping it's the last year I'm buying diapers after a lot of years doing that. And I buy a wide variety of things at different stores. So I am very fortunate in that we have a Kroger and a Meijer, a Walmart and Aldi, a Sam's Club, all of those stores very close to each other, along with a couple of others like a Fresh Time and just some different stores. I don't shop at them every week, but they are all close enough that I can go to them when the sales hit. It's important to consider that because some of you I know do not have access to as many different stores, and that does make it more challenging with your budget. So know that and be honest as you're going through this grocery audit. I wish you all could have a Kroger near you with as many great deals as I find, but if you don't, just be honest with that number in your budget. What do I want to buy this year? I want to continue buying the same things and building our stockpile a little bit. We're going to try to work through some things that I have, but it's pretty much staying the same. I want to continue buying the same thing. What do I currently spend? Okay, my monthly budget was $475 for the month. For the whole year, I left it at the same. I do track it regularly. Every week, I just record the number in a Keep app and keep a running total, and I add it up so I know how much I have left to spend. It's nothing complicated, but I've been doing this for a lot of years, and that's works for me. You want to see what the totals look like? Okay, let me go over it, and I'll just show you the list of how everything added out this year and what I spent. All right, let's look at the actual totals for all my grocery spending in 2022. In January, I spent $466.43. Remember, my monthly budget was $475. In February, I spent $472 even. March, $472.43. April, $473.51. May, I went over and spent $525.13. I know exactly why that overage happened. It was Memorial Day and I was stocking up on ground beef at Meijer. They had really good meat sales, and I'm okay with that overage because I know how much money it saved me the rest of the year. I do try to budget for those things, but sometimes overages happen. So that was what happened in May. In June, I was back under budget at $473.37. July, I was under budget at $425.81. We were traveling a lot in July, so our grocery budget was lower. Yes, we were eating out and traveling, but those things all come out of our travel budget, not out of our grocery budget. August, we were slightly over at $489.51 as we were restocking our fridge when we got back home, and then just getting ready for the school year and everything. September, spent $472.89. October, $473.60. November, $469.11. December, we cut it very close, and I spent $474.95, right under budget by 5 cents there. So that means my yearly total for 2022 was I spent $5,687.74 on groceries, which comes out to a monthly average of $473.97, which is just under my monthly budgeted $475. So I feel pretty proud of that fact. All right, let's finish talking about how I'm going to use these numbers going into 2023. Okay, so you can see I was actually amazingly, that's the first time this has happened in over my 10 years of tracking budgets, that I was that close to my target budget this year, which is really kind of amazing. I was very intentional about sticking to my budget this year. I worked really hard at it, and it's not easy, even for me. I love the deals, but it does take work. That's kind of why I started this channel, is because I want to share those deals with other people and help you find those deals as well to save money on your grocery budget. But I did spend that right at $475. The next question is, what would you like to spend in the coming year? Well, I'm actually going to keep my budget the same. I really went back and forth on this. I think it's pretty unrealistic at this point for any of us to lower our budget because prices have gone up so much. They've already increased over 13% this past year. They're really high, and that's an average. I mean, we're not even talking about the price of eggs and how much those have skyrocketed lately. So if you can reduce your budget, good for you, and I'm very proud of you for doing that. But for me, I'm just going to try to maintain my budget at the same place. I realize that there might be quite a few of us who are actually raising our budget. And if you need to do that and you can move the numbers around in your budget and make it work, go for it. Because yes, it is getting harder with prices being what they are. But for me this year, I've decided I am going to try to maintain my $475 monthly budget for 2023. Just remember, just because you said it right now, you have to be open and flexible and know that that could change in the future. Nothing is set in stone, especially with the prices being what they are. But for now, for me in 2023, we're going to try to use a $475 monthly budget. And the final question then is, how can you lower or maintain your current level of spending? So some of the questions that I think through and would encourage you to think about too is, can you shop less? Could you switch the stores that you're shopping at? You know, if you're used to shopping at a big store and you don't have an Aldi or Walmart nearby, that makes it a lot harder. But is it worth it to do a once every other month big stock up trip at an Aldi that's an hour away? It's something to consider. I don't know if that makes sense for your family, but maybe it does with the prices being what they are. Think about some things like that. Could you cook more from scratch? Could you start doing some substitutions? Are there certain things you could buy less of? What could you do? And a lot of times the answer does come down to really watching the deals. And yes, maybe not going in the stores as much. Are you going to try to build a stockpile this year with the sales so that your budget is not impacted as much? All of those are important things to consider. All of those are things that I'm going to be trying to do, especially focusing on the deals and continuing to build our stockpile and pantry to support our family. All right, so that's what a grocery audit is. It's really not that hard or complicated. It's just taking some time. You can do all of this in 10, 20, 30 minutes. It shouldn't take long. Just sit down and think through some of these things yourself. And I'd love to know, what was your budget for this past year in 2022, and what is it going to be in 2023? If you feel comfortable sharing, leave it in the comments because I'd love to know and encourage you along as we're doing this. In the same way, a lot of my videos this year, I know we're struggling, are really going to focus on saving money at the grocery store. So please, if you have questions or things that you'd like to see me share in a future video, let me know about that so I can be here to be a help and a resource for you. I hope you found this helpful. If you like this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to stay tuned for more videos on saving money on groceries. Remember, every Thursday, I do share a budget grocery haul of what I'm buying each week for that $475 a month, so you can see exactly how I do spend our money. Stay tuned for those, and you'll see them then. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.